Hi, everybody, and welcome. My name is Suzi Kuban, and I'm joining you today to give you a quick 15-minute introduction to video, podcasts, and advertising, namely YouTube, video, podcasts, and advertising. But we will get into all of the details. This session is brought to you by Next Broadcast Media, the global podcast advertising company. To get through what we're going to go over today, here we go. This is the agenda. First of all, I'm going to kick off by looking at the evolution of podcasts, how they've changed from from audio to video and audio and social and live events. It's definitely changed. Despite these changes, I'm also going to be going into why audio just can't be missed, why you can't think of podcasts as video first, and then really the fundamental of planning that audio video campaign. How do you do it effectively, especially when you're trying to blend the video and the audio together? So let's get going. In order to plan for today's webinar, I headed over to YouTube to look at the top 100 and just see, okay, like what's going on YouTube in podcasts. And it will not surprise you to see some familiar faces in the top 10. Here, accumulatively, this top 10 had almost 10 million views of their latest episode. So when I went on, that could have been the episode that was released that day, 2 days ago, a week ago, whatever the latest episode was and whatever the count was that time. And it was 10 million, which is huge. But what might surprise you is that when I went down to the bottom of the chart, so looking at that 90 to 100, what was going on there, you can see that they have still accumulated so many views, like millions in some cases, and it was close to about 5 million. Why is this important and what does it tell us? Well, firstly, podcasting is no longer niche. These are the views you're getting in the top 100 of the latest episode on video only. So think about the audio environment as well. It also shows us that visibility is far beyond that top 1% and that podcasts aren't audio anymore. It is a full media channel. So if this here is what the bottom of the chart looks like, perhaps it gives you the indication of the opportunity that's available across that whole ecosystem. So if I move on to the next slide, you can see here, this is what the kind of modern podcast ecosystem looks like. You have got audiences discovering shows on YouTube. They're listening to the long form on their podcast app, be that Spotify, Apple, SoundCloud, whatever you're doing. They're catching clips on social media. They're following them on Instagram or TikTok, like the hosts. And if there's live events, they're attending the live events today. So you can see all together, this ecosystem kind of behaves a bit like streaming TV in a sense, except there are lower barriers, there's deeper trust, and way more flexibility for advertisers to get involved. But here's the key difference that we need to emphasize from the start of this webinar session. And that is just because podcasts, the ecosystem has evolved like this and it has got video now, it doesn't mean that YouTube ads is part of the ecosystem, part of the experience. In fact, you could say it can be an interruption at times. True podcast ads, especially host read and native formats, are embedded into the content. They are heard, they are not skipped, they are not blocked, they're not muted, they're not hidden behind the premium subscriber paywall. So let's just have a look at the numbers here. You can see here that YouTube ads, they have an average view rate of about 32%. I think it's 31.9%, Whereas podcasts, the listen through rate is 80% plus. In fact, many of our clients are hitting that like 90% plus benchmark. So that means that for them, 90% of what is delivered is heard in full. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not telling you to avoid video or social. Far from it, really. Audio delivers great engagement, and video can add amplification to that. And together, they really do give you a great full funnel, 360-degree kind of brand presence. But it is to say that, yes, podcasts have gone visual, but you can see here, things haven't changed from a consumer's point of view. Most listening still happens audio first. You can see here that 70% of people are listening on Spotify, Apple, SoundCloud, again, any of those listening platforms. And that is important for an advertiser to remember, because audio is where attention runs deepest, messages feel personal, and it is where action is taken. I mean, that's where you're getting the real ROI. It's not just reach, but it's impact. So in the next slide, I'm going to be showing you exactly how to plan your campaign. So this is campaign planning that we're going to be getting into now. There are many different types of podcast advertising, but I'm going to be looking at, for today's short session that we're running today, at the 3 core pillars. That is dynamic programmatically inserted, host reads, and sponsorships. Yes, there are many nuances. We've got DCOs, branded shows, targeting. There's all sorts of things you can do when we're looking at a higher level. But right now, today, we're looking at these 3 different elements. So let's dive into the first one, which is dynamic programmatic. Now, this is the scalable side of podcast advertising, fully programmatic, targeting, content, location, device, context, all those great things, and it's placed directly within the listening experience. Now, moving from audio to look at video, let's talk about a comparison and something I have heard before, which is an advertiser saying, okay, I want the scale. A lot of people are watching, so I'm going to run YouTube pre-rolls on podcasts. And yes, okay, that's going to give you reach, sure. But as we saw earlier with the listen through rates and the watch rates, it's not the same. It's not even close. With video, you're often targeting a bit more of a casual viewer with, like half your eye on the screen, like your finger hovering over that skip button that you're desperately trying to press as soon as possible. And when you look at audio, you're reaching a listener that has popped some headphones on, put the device away, and started, in my case, walking the dog. It could be driving, it could be cooking, it could be doing, any of those activities. That means because they're away from the device and they've got the headphones on, you're in their head and they're not actively skipping, they're not swiping, they're not looking at other tabs, they're kind of doing their activity and listening at the same time. So while programmatic video is an interruption, programmatic audio is more part of that moment. And for that reason, you can't just deploy video programmatic and expect those kind of podcast level engagement levels. You're not always reaching the podcast fan, you're reaching maybe a video user. Therefore, the question becomes, if you want the trust and the impact of podcasting with the video visibility, what's the best way of doing that? Which is when I get into my next level of podcast advertising, which is host reads. So here we go. Host reads remain the most trusted and influential form of podcasting. That holds true even when you're looking at the visual world on video. Unlike the dynamic programmatically inserted ads, and the pre-rolls, you are getting a host that doesn't interrupt the content. It is part of the content. And in order to be seen as part of the content, an important part, visual and video, is that you give the hosts room to deliver what they want in their way. Let them tell their story, let them use their normal tone, their normal phrasing, ad lib a little bit, have a bit of fun if they want. That means your message, your ad is, as a host read, is being delivered with the correct emotion, authority, credibility, and trust that listeners have. If you give them a script, you're going to be losing that. Give them talking points, give them lines, sure, but I need to emphasize that you do need to try and keep it real. So then let's look at the two formats that I have on the screen here. You can see I've distinctly pulled out audio only host reads and host reads with video. With more shows now producing video content, there are many people that offer host read integrations with video clips included. That means you're getting the best of both worlds because you're getting that video immersion and the visual extra amplification. Plus, you're getting assets that you can clip and repurpose for other platforms as well, like social. If that is something you're like, yes, I want those things, I want that, there is a filter that you need to apply beyond just saying, does this show align to my customer? That's obviously the first point. After that, three things you need to strategically filter is, first of all, does the show and the host have constant YouTube and social presence? Make sure it's constant. Does the show have real engagement metrics? So not those bought views, but real engagement metrics. And also, is the audience used to consuming them visually as well? Like, it's not a new thing. If you can answer yes to those three things, then fantastic. If you have a no, go audio. Going audio first with host reads, it's podcasting, and there are far more high impact options in the audio world than there are video because there's more shows that are produced audio first, and it's often more cost effective too. Then you go on to our last pillar, which is sponsorships. Here we go. So sponsorships, these are those branded segments or even a full episode at times. And there you are taking an existing show and using their show to educate your listeners and reach their listeners about your product or your service. Audio, still the best place for this, for the depth, because you are getting uninterrupted attention. Again, like not getting skipping, fast forwarding, like having a million tabs open. You're getting that 20, 30, 60 minutes, no skip button, no scrolling, headphones on. Video, great for discovery, but if you're going for that storytelling and you just really need space for your message to land, then headphones while walking is gonna be much more valuable than someone half watching on YouTube. Sponsorship, that's not like an interview, so you don't need to worry about making sure your representative is ready for video. But if it is, then make sure that they are ready to be on screen if you're looking at the video element of it. Usually though, it's the host that is leading the segment, weaving your brand into the conversation. Now, if the podcast is also recorded, you're going to get some great added value in that you can clip those key moments, repurpose them for social, and that truly does extend the campaign far beyond that one episode. However, I'm going to have a however. That is not to say you cannot do the same for audio. With this crazy AI technology that is out there now, you can so easily repurpose audio sponsorships for visual too, for your social platforms, using like waveform animations, branded visuals, quote-driven motion graphics. All these things can allow you to take an audio clip and put it on socials as well. So then, because we have run out of time, but this is just wrapping up the key takeaways, just to go over. You can see that we have covered the fact that video helps podcasts spread, but listening really is where that advertising magic happens. Buying a podcast is not the same as buying a YouTube or social ad. If you buy it like a podcast, you are bypassing blockers, ad blockers, premium subscription holders, and you're getting like that host trust. And when it's planned right, podcasting can give you that great 360-degree full funnel brand moment. We've also learned that you do not need video in every campaign. It gives you great benefits. It makes sense when the podcast has a strong online following and is more of a visual first podcast. Your campaign, maybe if it needs maximum screen visibility, that's maybe where you could prioritize finding shows that align with you and have visual. And then, of course, if you want to repurpose clips for social, but we have seen that you can do that with audio. So just remember that video podcasts, aren't replacements. They are amplifiers. Audio first engagement is still the core of the podcasting experience. It is headphones, it is audio. So yeah, we are 2 minutes over, so we're going to wrap this session up. I hope that this has been beneficial, and I'd love to do more of these short, sharp introductions. If you have any recommendations or thoughts, put it in the comments, in the chat. I have got an ebook that I created to support this webinar. It takes a deeper look into the formats, the placements, and the examples. You can download this guide from mics to screens for free. In the description, I have got a link. And in the guide, I also go into if you want to create a podcast yourself, like for your brand or for you personally, when to go audio first and when to go audio and visual. Be sure to download it. It's free. Thank you so much for joining me today. It has been short but sweet, and I really hope that I see you on the next one. Thank you so much.